Hello Wargamers, I'm here with a new battle report. This time is 1750 points, Dark Angels vs Space Marine. Battle mission is Crusade, and deployment is Vanguard Strike. And now let's make a look to the army list. On the Dark Angels army we have, as HQ, a company master, equipped with the foot smither, with a power weapon and the power generator. Then on troops, we have a unit of 10 marines with missile launcher flammer with a razorback with twin langless cannon. Another unit of 10 marines with missile launcher and flammer, and then a veteran sergeant with a power fist in a razorback with a twin wing assault cannon. And then we have a 10 marines with plasma cannon, plasma gun, and a sergeant with plasma pistol with a razorback with last cannon and plasma gun. As fast as that, we have Tulan Speeder Tornado, Tulan Speeder Typhoon, and Tulan Speeder with multi-melta, one equipped also with a heavy flammer. And then we have allies. We have as allies Imperial Guard. We have a common squad. Then we have a veteran squad with three melta guns and a vendetta. On the Space Marine Army, we have as HQ, we have a Pelvacantor and a Librarian in a Terminator armor and level 2 of psychic power. As the troops, we have 10 scouts with the sniper rifles and one heavy bolter, and 10 marines with a heavy bolter going in a rhino. Then, as the elite, there are 10 assault terminators, 8 with thunder hammers and 2 with lightning claws, and 9 Vanguard with some combi grab weapons and a heavy flammer also in a rhino. As a heavy support, we find a Devastator squad with 4 missile launchers, a Predator with an autocannon on the turret and 2 last cannons on the sponsors, and a Vindicator. Okay, let's start explaining the deployment. I won the initiative and I decide to deploy first and move first. I want to, even though the first turn is night fighting, I want to maximize the shooting of my land speeders on the first turn. For that, my idea was to use the searchlights of my tanks to illuminate crew targets and then accumulate fire on that targets. So the deployment went as follows. On my right flank, I deployed a combat squad together with 2 razorbacks with 2 combat squads in each of them, and then I also put the common squad of my Imperial Guard allies just behind the tank to use the tank as a protection for the squad in case I lost the first turn. In the middle and as forward as I can, I deploy the 2 land speeders with assault cannons and heavy bolters. I want to maximize the shooting in the first turn. This is why I deploy them very advanced in my day. And then on the other flank, I deploy the other land speeders with multi-melta. On the hill, I deploy 1 razorback, the land speeders with missile launchers, and 3 combat squads. The idea is these squads will remain on the hill until the last turns, and then they will grab the target that is just next to the hill. This is more detailed picture of the deployment on my right flank. You see that the razorback with assault cannon and the 2 land speeders are as advanced as possible in my line. I also use the fence to give some cover protection to the combat squad with plasma cannon and one of the razorbacks. This is the view of my left flank. Observe that the land speeders are very advanced in my deployment, and I'm using one of the runes to completely hide a combat squad of 5 marines. These are 5 marines with a sergeant without any type of special equipment and just a flammer. They are there just to hide until the end turn of the battle and then grab the objective that is just next to the hill. Close up of the land speeders with multi-melta. one of them having a heavy flammer. This is overview of my deployment from my opponent's side. In that picture, I want to show how I maximize the power generator I put on my company master. The company master is just in the middle and is giving 4 plus invulnerable save to the land speeders, the razorback, and two of the combat squads. Just another picture of my right flank deployment. And now I will explain the deployment of my opponent. So from my right flank or left flank of my opponent, we start with a Vindicator. Then he deployed a squad of 10 scouts with sniper rifles and heavy bolter. In the middle, he decided to deploy the 10 assault Terminators with the Librarian inside of the squad. And then he deployed the 2 Rhinos on his right flank, facing my left flank, of course. The Rhino more in the center, closer to the Terminators, having the Vanguard unit, and the other Rhino have 10 tactical marines. Behind the Rhinos, there is the Predator. Surprisingly for me, my opponent decided not to split the squads into combat squads. And this is quite surprising because I did completely the opposite of my opponent. I divide all my squads into combat. Here another picture where you can see the 2 Rhinos on his right flank and the Predator behind. You also see in this picture that there is a tower from the Fortress of Redemption. On the top of this tower, he decided to deploy his Devastators with 4 missile launchers and the Sergeant with the Signum. Here a close-up of the Vindicator plus the Scouts and then the Terminators at the end of the picture. And let's start with the turn 1. Remember that turn 1 is knife fighting, and this is how we deployed the both armies. So this is a picture before any movement. My opponent couldn't steal the initiative, so I keep moving first. My tactics for this battle was to maximize my higher mobility versus my opponent. So the first thing I did is start doing flanking movement with my land speeders. This is on my left flank. I start moving my land speeders with multi-melta. Here I want to neutralize one of the Rhinos for 2 reasons. First, I want to reduce the mobility of my opponent. Second, is easy way to get the first blood. Observe here that I also move the land speeders with missile launchers to support the same flank. And I move a little bit forward the Razorback with the twin wingless cannon. I want to use the searchlight of the twin wingless cannon to help on the shooting to the Rhinos. On the opposite flank, I also start doing flanking movements, keeping my land speeders at range to shoot the scouts. In that flank, I want to use one of the Razorbacks to use the searchlight on the scouts and then concentrate fire on that squad. So I want to disseminate as much as possible the scouts. First, I want to kill all the support fire, as I'm not very concerned at this moment on the Terminators. They are far and they will need 2 or 3 turns to arrive to the close combat. This is a subjective view from the Razorback with assault cannons. And this is the result of the shooting. So I managed to destroy one of the Rhinos and 2 of the Marines after they disembark. On the other flank, I managed to kill a bunch of scouts, and then they failed the moral check, running out of the battlefield. This was a maximum win for me. I was not expecting to completely eliminate the 10 scouts squad. This overview of the battlefield after my first turn. So my opponent, in his turn, decided to move the Rhino with the Vanguard and Pedro Cantor forward. He wants to put some pressure in that flank. The tactical unit moved ahead to the ruins in the center of the battlefield. He tried to trains there and then grab the objective in the middle at the end turns. The Terminators at the bottom of the picture are also moving ahead, try to threat my other flank. In that flank, as I explained before, Terminators are moving forward, and also the Vindicator is moving forward to use the Demolisher cannon on my squad with plasma cannon. This overview after my opponent's movement. And now we go to shooting. In the shooting, he tried to concentrate some fire on my land speeders, but he only managed to stun one of them. So I keep both land speeders, one is losing one hull point. On the other flank, the Vindicator have not much better luck. He shot the Demolisher cannon onto my combat squad with plasma cannon, covering also the Razorback behind. But I was very lucky and I passed all my cover saves. So he only managed to do 2 hull points in all the shooting phase, one on one land speeder and the other one the Devastator shooting on my Razorback at the back of my battlefield. Of course, the Terminators run forward, try to arrive to my front as soon as possible. The tactical squad also use the shooting phase to run to the ruins. And we go into turn 2. My objective for this second turn was to keep damaging the support of my opponent. So I keep flanking with my land speeders, and as you can see in that picture, I move them to attack the side armor of the Vindicator. So my objective for this turn was to kill the Vindicator and stop the Vanguard Rhino. In the opposite flank, you can see how the land speeders keep flanking my opponent's force, and also the Vendetta that is coming from reserve is helping in supporting this flank. I move the Vendetta forward with the veterans inside, try to kill the Predator that is at the backward of my enemy. In that picture you can see what is the vision from the Vendetta. As you also see, I have the side armor of the Predator and the Vindicator. So the primary objective for me is the Vindicator. In case that the land speeders on the opposite flank cannot kill it, I will support with the Vendetta. If the Vindicator are destroyed by the land speeders, then I will focus my fire on the Predator. Here you can see how land speeders are surrounding the Crimson Fist force. Here I want to focus the fire on the Rhino. I want to stop the Rhino where the Steinward and the Predator is in. This is an overview of the battlefield after my movement. Observe that I move also the Razorback in the middle of the battlefield, closer to the Terminators. I want to start shooting at them with the assault cannon. After my movement, let's go to the shooting phase. First, I start with my land speeders, and they blow up the Vindicator. As the Vindicator was blown up, I shoot all the 3 last cannons of the Vendetta into the Predator, and I also destroy it. You can see at the back of this picture that there is a crater where used to be the Vindicator. Also, on the left part of the picture is appearing the Predator destroyed. As I explained before, one of the other objectives I have for this turn was to stop the Rhino with the Steinward inside. It was immobilized by the shooting of the land speeders with multi-meltdown, so I decided to shoot the land speeders with missile launcher and heavy bolter onto the Devastators on the tower. I managed to kill 3 of the missile launchers from the Devastator squad, leaving only 1 missile launcher and the sergeant. I think the unit was disseminated far enough to be a very low threat, so I decided to do the rest of the shooting onto the Terminators. Nevertheless, I didn't manage to cause a lot of damage on the Terminators. I think I only managed to kill 1 of them. And now we go into the movement of my opponent. As everybody guessed, the Terminators move forward to my lines. For me, what was surprising is that he decided to run in the shooting phase. I was expecting him trying to do a long charge onto my vehicle. On the flank, the Vanguard unit disembarked from the Rhino, but Pedro Cantor stays inside. The reason was that he shot the ordnance shooting from orbital attack onto my lines. Unfortunately for him, the shooting deviated a lot from the target, and he didn't manage to kill anybody. The Vanguard shot onto one of my combat squads, and only managed to kill one of my Space Marines. Here we have an overview at the end of the second turn. After 2 turns of very poor shooting from my opponent's side, the battle was very much in my favor. So I almost killed half of his army, and he only managed to take out 2 hull points and kill 1 Space Marine from mine. So now we go into turn 3. I forgot to say that the librarian of my opponent did invisible psychic power onto the Vanguard. So I didn't care on weapons with low penetrating value. I just aligned my marines to shoot bolters and flammers onto the Vanguard. For this reason, I move my land speeders to be able to use the heavy flammer onto the Vanguard, and I move other squads to be able to shoot the bolters onto them. So my objective for this turn is to neutralize the Vanguard and to avoid that they can go into the objective that I'm almost controlling, and try to reduce as maximum as possible the unit of Terminators. This is an overview of the situation after my movement phase on the third turn. So if you look at the back of the picture, you will see that I move the Vendetta forward. The idea here is just to move on the objective and disembark the veterans in the next turn. Also, you can see that in the middle of the battlefield, the Razorback with assault cannon just moved to the flank. I will use the flat of movement to move even farther, and I will keep the common squad from the Imperial Guard to absorb the charge from the Terminators. I also move a little bit back all the Marines on the hill to make more difficult in case he wants to address the charge onto the hill. The rest of the units just move surrounding the Vanguard. In that picture you can appreciate how the Terminators are completely surrounded by my army. So I don't care if they kill 1 or 2 units in a charge, as I will be able to pour a lot of shooting onto these Terminators. And this is what remained of the Terminators at the end of my shooting, so I managed to kill 5 of them. 2 were killed by the land speeders with assault cannon and heavy bolter, and the rest with other type of weapons. As you can see, the Vanguard was also very disseminated. I killed 7 of them, the squad was made only by 9. Even if they have invisible, the amount of shooting they receive were enough to kill a lot of them. This is an overview at the end of my third turn. Here we have another shot of the battlefield at the end of my third turn. So you will see that my superiority at this moment is very big, so it seems that the battle is controlled from my side. And now we go into the movement of my opponent. As you can see, the Terminators move forward. I think they had a hard time walking, try to cross all the battlefield, because I was able to move backward at the same time that they moved to me. So they had a lot of time to receive a lot of fire from my side. In the middle of the battlefield, he placed the tactical unit on the ruins, into the ruins, try to keep them alive until the last turns when he will try to climb the objective in the middle of the battlefield. The Vanguard, by his side, tried to move a little bit forward. This is how the devastators from the tower will see the battlefield. I have to say that my opponent had very little luck during all the battle, and again, his shooting didn't manage to do any type of damage into my army. At the end, the Terminators decide to charge into my Imperial War Common Squad. He killed all my Imperial Guardians, including the commander, but at the end, he was in the middle of a lot of shooting units. So I will prepare my army to shoot all the firepower into the Terminators and try to kill them all in the next turn. I have to apologize that I don't have a picture at the end of the assault phase, but you have to imagine that the Terminators end up at the position where my Imperial Guardians are down. Then we go to turn 4. As I explained before, the Vanguard moves forward against the objective was next to my combat squad unit. I think with all the firepower I have in that side will be enough to eliminate them too. As I explained at the end of the turn 3, the Terminators end up in a position where they were surrounded by a lot of my units, so I will concentrate all my shooting fire into these Terminators. Here I put the Vendetta in hover mode, and then I disembark all the veterans around this objective. Now the Vendetta is facing the Devastators and I will try to eliminate them. Here we see another picture of the Terminators at the beginning of turn 4. I didn't move at the end the tactical marines that are around the objective. If I didn't manage to kill all the Terminators and they charge on me and they kill this unit, it will not be a big trouble for me, as I'm controlling another 3 objectives. This is an overview of the battlefield at the end of my movement phase on turn 4. And now we go into shooting. The Vendetta shoot to the Devastators, and I managed to kill the last missile launcher, so only the Sergeant is alive at the top of the tower. In that flank, the 4 Marines with the Flammer managed to kill the 2 Vanguard Marines. Then I concentrate the rest of the fire on the Rhino and Pedro Cantor, killing first the Rhino and then killing Pedro Cantor with a lot of fire. Who managed to kill Pedro Cantor at the end was the missile launcher from the Land Speeder. This is an overview at the end of my shooting phase. As you will see at the far end of the picture, there are no more Terminators. I managed to kill them all by concentrate shooting. I had a lot of plasma and las cannons in that area, and also the Land Speeders with heavy bolters and assault cannon managed to kill again 2 more Terminators. At this point of the battle, my opponent decides to concede me the victory, as he only have 1 tactical squad of 8 Marines and 1 Sergeant at the top of the tower, so for him make no sense to continue the battle. Here another picture at the end of turn 4. You see that the Terminators that used to be in that area are completely eliminated. What are the conclusions of this battle? First of all, I want to remark that I have a little bit more luck than my opponent, what is making my victory even more striking. But anyway, I think there are some clues on the strategic of each game. First of all, I think that he didn't divide the army in combat squads was a mistake from my opponent, so I can concentrate my shooting in a big blocks, and he had all the troops accumulated in one area. Then I have much higher mobility than him, and I use this mobility to surround his army. Thanks to that, I can shoot to the side armors of his tanks, and I can surround and concentrate fire on the units one by one. That the Terminators need 3 times to rise to the close combat is giving me a lot of time to disseminate the rest of the army, while the Terminators are just walking in the middle of the battlefield. So, and what happened if the Terminator just arrived at full power onto my army? Okay, they can kill 2, 3 units, maybe in the whole battle. They can destroy the units around one objective, but thanks to my mobility, I can still keep the units in the other objectives. So I think the best units of my army have been the Land Speeder's Tornado and the Land Speeder's Typhoon. Them both have had a lot of mobility and have destroyed a lot of units from my opponent. I will say that the Tornado are even the best unit of the battle, as they destroy some scouts, making them run out of the board. Then they were able to destroy the Vindicator, and at the end they kill 4 or 5 Terminators from the big unit of my opponent. I hope that you have enjoyed this battle report and I was able to communicate to you some of my learnings and observations on this battle. Please don't hesitate in commenting, and if you like this video. Thanks for watching and see you again later. Bye.